Thank you for staying with us. Today is World Mental Health Day, October 10 every year. It's an opportunity for people and communities to unite behind the theme, mental health is a human right, a universal human right. And this year, the whole conversation is around our minds, our rights. Two people join us this morning. Professor Taiwo Bindo is president of the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria. He joined us via Zoom from Ibadan, Oyo State, as well as Dr. Otega Okinono, head of Department Sociology and Criminology, and who is also a mental health trainer. She joins us from the University of Delta, Agbo, Delta State. Thank you for joining us. Prof, let's begin with you. You had put out a statement, well, you had conversations where you said two things that are very staggering. One of them is that you said there are more than 60 million Nigerians that are suffering from mental illness. And you also said that in Nigeria we have 1 psychiatrist to 1 million people. Those are scary statistics. How did we come about these figures, Prof? Prof, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, sir? Can you hear me now? Okay, I guess we'll... Can you hear me now, Prof?
Okay, it's getting a bit better.
Okay. Yes. So you had said at various fora that Nigeria has more than 60 million people living with mental illness, one mental illness or all the other. You may want to, first of all, let's begin from there. How did we get to that? What do you mean by that assertion?
Good morning, Nigerians. And as we commemorate this World Mental Health Day, I wish us all a good mental health. Let me put the message in proper perspective. In 2006, Gureje et al., who is the country representative of the World Health Organization, declared that 1 out of 4 Nigerians will have a form of mental health condition in the course of their lifetime. And if you look at 2006 to 2023, is a long haul, and the indices in the country further worsens that particular situation. We have a country where the population is well over 200 million. And if, as at that time, you are calculating 1 in 4, you are looking at over 50 million Nigerians that will suffer one form of mental health condition or the other in the course of their lifetime. And that's exactly what was said. And if you look at where we are now with kidnapping, banditry, headers crisis and all, and you will definitely would know. And then, of course, the pervasive poverty that we go through now, you can be sure that quite a number of Nigerians, more, are actually laboring under one form of mental health condition or the other. That was exactly what I meant by that.
Well, you may want to explain that a little further before we go to Dr. Okinono. I mean, now that you even mentioned crisis areas and all, there are a good number of people who will also be citing the situation. One of the issues which was also raised by the World Health, between the World Health Organization and the International Committee of the Red Cross, that in conflict zones or in crisis areas in the country, the issues of mental health conditions have increased by more than 22%. What could have informed that, and is it possible to have staved it off?
looking at, the scenario, let me paint an issue. In October last year, there was an attempt, not even an attempt, I was kidnapped. And
oh dear.
Thanks to the totally taken away from the community. And it took a long while for me, my wife, and my daughter to settle down. Usually, when such situation happens, the people that are directly involved are prone to develop stress disorder. Those for developing the PTSD. Those who hear about it also have a higher incidence of developing anxiety. You hear dog barking, your sleep is affected, you become tensed, you are not able to concentrate appropriately, and you have a recurring picture of what happened then such person is suffering from mental health condition. As I speak now, one of our colleagues in Enugu was kidnapped yesterday morning also. And that has also set up a sense of anxiety. Can you move out? If you move out, can you come back home? All that can also lead to mental health condition. Besides anxiety disorders, people develop depression. Of course, as I always say, the mental health condition is not static. It oscillates. Quite a number of Nigerians presently are suffering under a form of distress, and they have one form of mental health symptoms of mental health here and there, even though they may not have developed mental health condition. But quite a number of Nigerians are distressed presently following the pervading poverty. Quite a number of Nigerians are already moved lower on the rung of the social status. And so the catering for developing the coping method, it becomes a major challenge to quite a number of us. And therefore, a number of those who are distressed are further moved into the realm of having a mental health condition, because to make a diagnosis, you need to talk about the duration, you need to talk about the number of symptoms and all that. And quite a number of people have been moved by the nature of what is happening in the country. So it is a known fact all over the world that with significant economic downturn and crises everywhere, mental health condition of the populace worsens. And for your information, even here in Nigeria, those who are meant to actually take care of those who are mentally ill, I'm talking about the mental health practitioners, the number has significantly also dropped. Talk about the psychiatric nurses, the occupational therapists, the clinical psychologists, and all, and the psychiatrists themselves. More have moved out of the country, and therefore we have less than 300 psychiatrists in the country, even to take care of those who are mentally ill. The facility where I work, as Jos University Teaching Hospital, has a capacity of about 30. And because of the prevalence of the use of psychoactive substances also, quite a number of them tend to be chronic and they remain in bed. And ability we have the capacity, but the ability to admit those who are mentally ill is becoming reduced. So you can look at that and see that many are laboring. And also, out of those who have mental illness, less than 10% actually are able to access care. And that big gap of about 90% is what that those who are still finding it difficult to access appropriate care. And so those are the issues that we need to contend with presently. The way also, because this year's mental health day is the theme is the fact that mental health is the right of everybody.
It's very interesting, Prof, when you know, the way you're making, you know, all of this sound, and it'll be good for people to really get better understanding, because when we talk about mental illness, and you say that a good number of people may not even know that they are manifesting symptoms of those things. Let's bring Dr. Otega Okinono in on this conversation. Well, Dr. Okinono, your specialty in this area seems to be in the area of mental health in the workplace. First of all, if you want to help us understand what that means and how serious the situation could be. Dr. Okinono, can you hear me?
Sorry about that, please.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you got the question that I'm asking. I mean, since your specialty is in the area of mental health in the workplace, how dire is the situation, if it is?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayo, for bringing me in. I think there are concepts that we need to clarify about mental health. Mental health, it's not a negative condition. Mental health is a condition whereby the individual is socially, emotionally, psychologically, and if you want to add spiritually balanced. That is a good mental health. The issue we want to address is mental health disorder. How can people have, you know, a positive mental health? And that is what I have been doing for quite a number of years now, talking about balanced and positive mental health at workplace. If you agree with me, every workplace, every organization has its challenges and their ups and downs. No matter how organized it might be, there are challenges you encounter at your place of work. How are you able to address all of these? How are you able to cope with the pressures of work? How are you able to balance your role at home and even at the workplace? And then how are you able to balance the social dynamics that occur at the workplace? So I advocate that people should be mindful of their mental health at workplace. And how can you be mindful of your mental health when you don't even know what mental health entails, when you don't even know how to maintain a positive and balanced mental health? There are different ways you can maintain a positive and balanced mental health. Number one, you must agree and realize that pressures, conflicts, disagreements, challenges are inevitable. They are part of human existence. So these are some things you need to put, you know, behind your mind as you go to work, even in the family. You must realize that you are going to meet some of these challenges. And so how do you prepare yourself in handling all of this? For example, at the workplace, how do you manage stress from your colleagues, stress from your bosses, stress from even your subordinates? Maybe there are some, they give you targets to meet up with targets. How do you balance it up? First of all, you must be able to set your priorities. You must be able to set your priorities. You must be able to set goals. And even as you set goals, there must be priorities to those goals.
Well, Dr. Okinono, my apologies for butting in. One of the things that makes that a little difficult to comprehend or to even to live by is that life today seems to be undulating. Economic realities of many people in various parts of the world, Nigeria no less, is undulating. Today, you know, you deal with certain economic realities. Tomorrow, it's not the same. It's perhaps even worse for business owners. And consequently, it's only natural for anyone to act out when things aren't going in a particular direction. And don't also forget that every individual, particularly adults, have different levels of life to line up. You work in a place, you report to a boss or you report to certain stakeholders. You are a married man or married woman. You have children, you have parents. All of these things are demands on the person's psyche. If these realities are as they are, and as Professor Obindo has said, we cannot run away from certain realities that manifest themselves in a way that that puts us at risk. Then what can anyone really do to tackle these things, knowing that it is important to balance them all?
That's a very good one. Now, like I said earlier on, that all of these, they are inevitable. I talked about social dynamics, you understand, undulating structures in society, at the place of work, in these different social structures. Now, how can you handle a thing you don't even have the least understanding about? That is why the awareness has to increase. For me, before I got into mental health training, I never knew some of these things. Most times I get apprehensive, I get, overburdened with work challenges, life crisis, and all of that. I didn't have the least idea. I didn't even understand the symptoms. I didn't even know how to set boundaries. I didn't even know how to identify. Now, we must, first of all, know exactly how to handle all of this. And first of all, we must educate people to face the reality that society cannot be static. Society is dynamic. Things must change, either for good or for bad. So we must prepare their minds. We must educate them to know that these things are inevitable in society. So when you see them, when you encounter them, how do you handle them? Which is why this theme, mental health, for this year, is mental health as a universal right. That is a different topic entirely. Now, let me answer you straight. We need to create more awareness of mental health. We need to create more awareness of taking care of yourself. Mental health is not just merely the absence of disease. You understand? Some persons could look physically fit, but they have mental health challenge, even without them knowing they have mental health challenge, because they do not know the symptoms that goes with it. So the focal point should be more awareness. That is exactly what channels, television, and other social media platforms are also doing. We should create more awareness from the grassroots, from communities, place of work. Nobody is above mental health issue or challenge. The rich, the poor, the old, the young. You understand? It doesn't, discriminate. Everybody is vulnerable to having one mental health challenge or the other.
Okay.
But we must be able to know all of this before we can handle mental health issues at workplace.
All right. Professor, let me ask you, Professor Bindo, one of the revelations that you have made known, which you also mentioned here, is that the standard is, you said it once before, that the standard is that one psychiatric doctor should take care of 10,000 patients. But today we have one psychiatric doctor to over 1 million Nigerians. I understand Professor Bindo is not with us at this moment, but we'll certainly get back to him. Back to you quickly, Dr. Kinono. A good way to, one question to ask you right now is, are there certain jobs or professions or careers that are more endangered than the other in terms of mental health alertness? There are those who would say, okay, maybe I don't really need to be, I'm not really as concerned or shouldn't be as concerned about my mental health. I'm okay, everything is going okay. Are there certain professions or careers that are more demanding in terms of mental health than others? And if there are, you want to help us understand what puts these people in these careers in jeopardy.
Good. Now, what puts them in such a dilemma is the structure of an organization. There are times there are so much pressure. There are some organizations that give you targets. They tell you between so time you must meet a target, you must meet up with expectations. And so when you put people under pressure, a lot of pressure like that, and they know if they don't meet up with such pressures, they might lose their job, they might lose promotion. They put their life at risk in trying to meet up with organizational expectations. So at this point in time, I also want organizations to get, to be adequately enlightened, and then also get the awareness that it's not just about bringing results. You could still maintain a positive mental health and still achieve much. You understand? And then there are also organizations that will give you targets like if you permit me, I will want to use my own career, you understand? Like lecturing job, you need to write papers to get promotion, you need to go to class, you need to teach. If you have an understanding of how to set your priorities, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. Fine. At intervals, you might have some stress that you might not be able to control. You don't have control over them. So what do? After that, you tell yourself, what are my priorities? What are the ones I should do? And you must make some time to bring out all of these. It's a conscious effort. It's not something you just put in there. It's a process. It's something you need to recognize every day of your life, whether you're working in a private sector, in a public sector, you have your own business. Even in your own business, there are times you want to meet up with targets. You want to, because you need to pay your workers, you need to increase profit. But your health, like I tell people, my mental health is my priority. I don't compromise it, okay? So I always tell myself, this can always wait. This can always wait. What I don't have control over, I don't bother myself about it. Well, because life must go on.
Well,
so that is my
there are those who would say it's easy for you to say, Dr. Okinono, because you're a lecturer, you probably have other things, But there are a good number of people, just as you said, who are so much under pressure that there is only one source that they have, and that there are some things that they cannot even compromise. But help us understand, first of all, there are times when, as Professor Obindo mentioned earlier, 60 million people in a population of 200 million. That is quite a lot. So what are the symptoms that anyone would manifest that will give the person a reason or a need to go see a specialist to be sure that their mental health is stable? Or maybe ask it better, how does one help himself to ensure a stable mental health? Or who does the person need to talk to? What are the signs that the person needs to see before he can say, I think I need to go talk to someone ASAP?
Yeah, thank you. It brings us back to awareness. Like I said, you must understand something, the nature of a thing. Understand it before you could find solutions. Somebody, like I said, some persons have mental health challenge or conditions they don't even know. It's not just the absence of disease, okay? Now, there are some symptoms that you must understand as a person that occurs. Maybe the changes in your body, your sleeping pattern, your eating habits, and then pressures, and then you must understand yourself. You understand? It varies from one individual to another. You see, some people, they don't know how to work. Some people don't know how to work under pressure. Some people do better under pressure. So the first thing you should identify, which of course is not just something that is brief, physical fatigue. You are always fagged out, you are always wear out, you're always tired, you're not okay psychologically, you're not balanced, you're always feeling tired and stressed out, your eating disorder is changing, your sleeping disorder, you're having sleeping disorder. Maybe you used to sleep 6 hours, you're not sleeping for 2 hours, you have insomnia, and then, memory loss, your retentive memory is no longer so strong, and then you become aggressive. And so there are some changes you must observe. And you cannot understand these symptoms when you don't know what exactly it means. Something that occurs over a long period of time. It's not like having fatigue today and tomorrow it goes off. No, that is not it. Something that persists over a long period of time that has not been in you before, that is abnormal to your body, to your system.
Confirms what Prof also said a little while ago. Let's quickly go back to Professor Obindo. Well, Prof, you mentioned before that we need at least one psychiatric doctor to 10,000 patients. But the challenge we have now is that we have about 1 to 1 million. In your opinion, how do we reverse these figures if it is as serious as you say? And what are the implications if we don't? Can you hear me, Prof?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much, Ayo. Thank you, Dr. Ortega, for all you have said. I think she started by saying that, talking about mental health. Mental health is different from mental health conditions. Mental health talks about an individual being able to actualize his potential, is able to face what we call normal stresses of life. The person is able to work productively. And then the person also is able to contribute to the society. If there is any departure from this, then the person is not in a full mental health condition. And Dr. Ortega actually alluded to all the symptoms. But coming to your questions about the number of mental health practitioners, I always emphasize that psychiatrists is just one of the mental health practitioners in the country. And then when you look at the psychiatrists, having even the figure for developed world that has actually improved. It's no longer 1 to 10,000. Things have moved even lower, so that they can actually cover a number of people. Yes, we look at what is the cause. Quite a number of psychiatrists that are produced. For instance, I am in Ibadan presently, and we just are about concluding the qualifying exams to produce specialists, consultants in the country. And these are done regularly, twice a year. National College of Physicians, where I am an examiner, are producing regularly. But as soon as they are produced, UK, Canada, ways of, what do you call it, more conducive for people to work out there are available for them to work.
Oh dear. Well, not very, very friendly network there, but, quite insightful conversations that we have had. Unfortunately, we have run completely out of time. And the call today is just for everyone to do the needful to ensure that we stay alive and alert. Well, today is World Mental Health Day, and that is why we just needed to bring this conversation on. Professor Taiwo Bindo, President, Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria, thank you so much for your time this morning, as well as Dr. Ortega Okinono, Head of Department, Sociology and Criminology, University of Delta, Agbo, Delta State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, your own contribution to the program are next, and let's begin with this one by Abiro Kenneth. He writes in a mail, says, the bin of non-performance by government officials, among other causes, is the fact that in Nigeria, most appointments, especially the ministerial ones, are seen as thank you envelope. And when it is thus, the appointed person's readiness and ability to do the job well wouldn't be an issue anymore. This, I think, has to stop.
Well, this is from Ayobami Lugs. That's interesting. Lugs. Well, he's talking about understanding the issue around the civil service. He says, I've taken time over the recent years to understand the misconception of the issues around the civil service by journalists. The expressions which lay all the blame on civil servants are majorly in the realm of imagination and theories. So far from the truth which journalists have not uncovered. What are the roles of the political heads? Can you isolate them? Civil servants may be the accounting officers, but who is the overall head? Can a permanent secretary kick against instructions by the minister or commissioner? Claims that civil servants corrupt political heads is inadequate and the mere cover for the very corrupt tendencies in the political technocrats. It is unfortunate that not even journalists have done justice to investigate the real issues. Until that is done, We will continue to scratch the surface and keep going round the circle, which is the experience over the years in our country. Political heads are usually not called to account for actions, especially under the guise of not being the accounting officer. But that must change. They dish out instructions and should not be insulated from investigations as may be required. They lock up in the shadows and covers because they do not sign for funds, but they dish out directives even to the accounting officers. Please get the right understanding of the issues to fashion out a lasting solution to issues affecting our nation, especially in the negative. That was a long one. Well, that is it today. We thank you all for watching. Yeah, we'll dissect this much later. I think Ayo will as well. We'll see you next time. I am Chamberlain Uso. Goodbye.
Have a wonderful day and a productive one. I'm Ayo Makinde. Bye for now.